Without Zion, the Blue Devils, even with R.J. Barrett, Cam Reddish, let's keep in mind, they're two of the potential top 4 picks. They couldn't be 8th-ranked UNC. So, Stephen A., with that being said, without Zion, Duke's title hopes, they're done, right?
I think so. Listen, R.J. Barrett can ball. I didn't like the fact that he couldn't hit a shot when it counted. The last 5 shots as the game waned, he missed, even though he ended up finishing the game with 33. In the sport of basketball, you look at a guy like him along with Cam Reddish and what they bring to the table, and if you got 2 guys that play like stars, anything can happen, particularly in the NCAA tournament. But I just look at Duke collectively. They just seem to be a different team, devoid of that mystique when Zion Williamson is not on the floor. Now, this was the first time he wasn't, and it was so early in the game, it might have been a shock, but I don't view them as a title winner without Zion Williamson. I look at Kentucky. I look at Kentucky on the come up. I look at a few other teams that I'm paying attention to in college basketball. And obviously the NCAA tournament, March Madness, where anything can happen. And I think they could be had because their perimeter shooting is suspect. And I think that's a huge, huge deal when it really, really counts. So I'm not of that mindset that they can win it without Zion Williamson. I think he needs them. I think they need him rather to pull it off.
Oh, they can win it without Zion. Obviously, the odds are less now. Look, one of the great things about the tournament is, I always say, basketball is fundamentally not probabilistic in the same way football or baseball is, let's say. In the NBA, in a best-of-7 series, best team always wins. And by always, I mean like just about every time. Win a best-of-7, you were the better team, right? Well, college basketball fixes for that. It's not like, what we enjoy about sports is simply to be able to crown the best team. We like some randomness inserted in there, makes it more exciting. And that's the tournament. Best team doesn't always win. Even the best team, by the way, is the odds-on favorite. They're not the favorite against the field in a one-and-done style tournament. So obviously, Zion Williamson makes them among the front runners to win the tournament, odds still stacked against them. Without Zion Williamson, they can still win. Guys, Molly mentioned it. They had 3 of the top 4 draft picks, ostensibly, like that's what people are projecting.
Yeah.
They have 2 of the top 4 picks coming up in the NBA draft on a Coach K team. They can't win the championship. Look, coming into the season, we knew it's a team full of freshmen. They can all take their guy off the dribble. Will they move the ball well enough? Will they shoot it well enough? And by the way, it wasn't all easy sailing so far. Like some of those answers were no. These were the reasons there were some concerns. They're not this unstoppable team. But I still thought with Zion, and I think with Zion, they will do it against the odds. Remember, any team, it's against the odds. And even without him, they can still do it. They're very talented. They have a great coach. It could happen.
Their title hopes are most certainly not over. There are going to have to be a couple things that get fixed, a couple things that change here. I'd say the most concerning thing last night after Zion went out was the complete disarray of their defense, as North Carolina scored in the paint over and over with the extra pass. They were just dicing up Duke's defense. But last night was just everything out of sorts for Duke. Everything was messed up. After Zion goes out after 36 seconds, everyone is rattled. But that doesn't mean their title hopes are over. Stephen A., they did have to play some stretch this season without Zion. They had to play the second half against Florida State, and they won. They won that game. It wasn't the best game for them. They had to win on a last-second shot. And they had to win on a shot, I believe it was by Cam Reddish. And that brings me to my second point. If Zion's going to be out, if he's not going to play the rest of the season, they can certainly win the title. I would even put them still among the favorites to win the title if Cam Reddish can step up and, as you pointed out, be more consistent in hitting his outside shot, and Trey Jones doesn't have games like last night. That was just a bad shooting night all around for Duke. But when you have, as everyone has pointed out, 2 of the probable top 5 picks still on the floor, top 5 picks in the NBA draft still on the floor, you have playmakers in those 3 guys, Jones, Reddish, and of course R.J. Barrett, you certainly, in the NCAA tournament, have to be considered among the favorites to win the title.
Yeah. And let's keep in mind, he might also be back.
Especially,
right.
Yeah, that's right.
No,
Especially when Coach K is the guy who usually stops teams that look like his team now. They got this kind of young athletic team and Coach K.
Well, y'all can feel any way y'all want to. I respectfully disagree. I mean, nobody's definitively right here. March Madness, anything can happen. We see Cinderellas. If Cinderella exists in any sport, it's in college basketball with March Madness. We understand that reality. But I'm just telling you that the mystique, the way they play, the fervor and the vibe and the confidence with which they play. When Zion Williamson is on the floor, I'm talking about even when he takes a break and he's on the bench, they look like a different team from time to time. I've watched a few of their games this year. I saw their loss earlier this season to Gonzaga. I look at them right now, and I say to myself, excuse me, they're a show. Make no mistake about it. When they have to resign themselves to just playing basketball, it tends to be a little bit difficult defensively, the perimeter shooting. I pay attention to those things. Then I look at Gonzaga. I look at Virginia, who they beat. I look at North Carolina. I look at a team that Roy Williams has. You got this guy, Luke May, last night. I don't even know what to call him. 30 and 15. That's what he dropped last night. I just don't know. I don't know how those numbers happen. But like Will said, they were doing some things, slicing and dicing and passing the ball in the paint and doing some damage to Duke. So when I look at Duke, I say to myself, excuse me, they're making shots. They can beat anybody. You force them to have difficulty making shots, and you have some composure with your backcourt play, unlike Louisville had when Louisville collapsed against them last week. Just a total collapse because their backcourt players look completely petrified. If you've got composure in your backcourt, okay, and you play good enough defense that forces them to struggle from the perimeter, Duke can be had without Zion Williamson. I just believe that.